Hey, welcome back. Man, I got a surprise for all of you guys. What we're doing today is we're going to be doing quick, powerful, to the point interviews with our premier coaching staff. And these are the actual coaches that you get to talk to on a weekly basis on your semi-private coaching call. And so they have all submitted to me some of the top questions and suggestions they're getting from the premier coaching clients. And we're going to be going through every one of those questions and we're going to be answering them thoroughly. And I think, well, no, I don't think, I know you're going to love this. The sessions are going to be quick. They're going to be to the point. And you're going to walk away with a head full of knowledge and a lot of motivation. And it's going to be up to you to get into action. So Julie, are you ready for this?
I am. I'm very excited. And I just have to say that we know, love, and trust all of our staff coaches here. They all have a lot of great strengths. Every one of them is active in the real estate market, and you can trust what they have to say to you.
That's right. And so Julie, you want to introduce everybody?
Well, let's see. Do we have any order? I think we'll just let's start with Coach Ruschele because she's been with us the longest. Coach Ruschele Abbruzzese, who is from Columbus, Ohio, and has both sold real estate with us and coached with us personally. So she, again, is from Columbus, Ohio. You'll hear from her in a second. And then we have Ziggy from upstate New York, just a bit north of New York City. And Ziggy has been a premier coaching client and has had a successful career transferring all of her knowledge from being a part-time agent, which some of you listening are, and to a very successful full-time agent. So that's one of Ziggy's strengths. And then, of course, we have Brandon Jackson from Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're covering all of our bases here in the country. And Brandon, too, has been a coaching client as well as a coach with us for quite some time. Very proud of his success as well. And, of course, is still an active real estate professional. And newer to our team, but still just as professional and knowledgeable, is Ken Gould from both Phoenix and Mexico, has both places covered, and I look forward to hearing from Ken as well. So that's our staff coaches. Back to you, Tim.
And so these guys are our premier staff coaches, but they're also Harris certified coaches. So I'm going to ask them tough questions. And if they give me wimpy answers, I'm going to force them to drill down. So you guys ready? All right. Who's on the hot seat first? Let's go. Brandon Jackson from North Carolina.
What's up? How's everybody doing today?
That's right. So what Julie didn't mention was I was his longtime coach, and also we've bought real estate with Brandon. So we've actually had done a lot of different forms of business with him, and he's always been fantastic to work with. So Brandon, I want to start out. I've got your questions here, but I'm going to start out since you and I do have a coaching background. Why did you originally sign up for coaching, and why did you stay with coaching for years? What was it that you ultimately, if you had to coalesce what you were receiving from that relationship so that others can understand, what was it? What were you getting from it? Why was that important to you?
Yeah, I wasn't winning. I had lost a listing. I think it was one of the first catalysts for me to start looking for coaching. I knew that there was more to, or I figured there was more to it. I thought there had to be some kind of silver bullet, kind of something I didn't know, some secrets, and I wanted to learn all the secrets so that I could become a good listing agent. And so I had stumbled across you on your podcast. I actually heard you being interviewed on someone else's podcast that brought me to your podcast. And I put in a call, talked to first to Rochelle, and she's like, "You're really direct. I'm gonna introduce you to Tim." And then boom, that's how it started. I guess the second question was what kept me going, or I can't remember what was.
Well, I mean, we were together for years before
Yeah.
we saw your talent and how quick you were absorbing the material, and I thought you'd be a perfect premier coach, which you absolutely have been. But why did you stay with coaching for so long? Because a lot of people, Brandon, and you guys know this, right? They don't have the minds like, Julie and I talk all the time about hold on, Julie, you're gonna have to bail me out when I screw this up in the order. All right, we talk about with the levels of learning, right? The unconscious incompetence, the conscious incompetence, who I'm doing good so far, points to me. Then the conscious incompetence. Did I get that one right?
Now, conscious competence is number 3.
Okay, and number 4, Julie, is?
Unconscious competence. I know, the thing is, especially for our listeners who haven't been exposed to that, those terms all do kind of sound the same. So just for those who are wondering, the first thing that you said was unconscious incompetence. That's when you don't know what you don't know. And then like what Brandon was talking about is at some point, I think, he became conscious of some level of incompetence in terms of like wanting to win every listing, because we have a rule amongst our coaches. It's not good enough to just take 50% of what you go on. You need to be batting for 100. So that's when you say, aha, I got some stuff I got to learn. I've got to implement. Maybe that's the pre-listing package, for example. And then after practice, you go to that third level which is conscious competence. I'm trying, I'm working, I have to have that knowledge, I'm still working at it. And then after you've done that for like 100, 200 times, you become unconsciously competent, which is like being on autopilot. We talk about this on the podcast sometimes.
Like with Julia is when she's explaining these four levels of competence. She doesn't even have to think about it. It's just on
I have done it.
autopilot. But what is interesting though, is a lot of agents, what they'll do is they'll join coaching after they've had a punch in the head by the market. And that could be losing a listing to Brandon's example. And then when they get to the second phase is really, truly the hardest one, because now you've admitted that you don't know stuff. And now there's a lot of stuff you got to get to know. And what most people will do, and Brandon, this is why I'm going to reel you back into your experience, is they'll give up before they actually earn the right to be good at what it is that they're trying to get at. And, you know, they'll go through the paces, you know, they'll start doing what they don't want to do when they don't want to do at the highest level, or they'll start doing what they don't want to do when they don't want to do it, but never at the highest level. And then they'll quit. They might quit themselves. They might quit the industry. They might quit coaching, and they'll go look for shiny objects. Brandon, you must be able to relate to this from all the coaching calls you've had.
Absolutely. I mean, and even just my own struggles, right? I mean, that was my problem. You know, it's like I wanted to constantly learn, and then I'd try something different, and that wouldn't work. And so that's what I wanted to come and learn from someone that has climbed the mountain. And you guys obviously have had tremendous success. I knew that it wasn't just a concept, it was something that you had gone through yourself. And that's why I like just 100% trusted in what you were telling me.
Were you discerning, or how discerning were you in who you hired as a real estate coach? Because as you know, there are a lot of real estate coaches out there that have never sold real estate before, or never sold real estate at a high level. So when you were going about choosing, you know, our organization as your coaching organization, did you do a lot of homework, or was it just at that point you had enough experience to know the BS from the not BS?
I had, I would say I did a little bit of homework. There was a few that had kind of popped up that I was looking into, and I would do intro calls and listen to them. And honestly, what brought me to you guys is I felt, again, like one, it wasn't just something you were re-speaking someone else's information. It was like you literally knew. You had been where I had been, was one. And then two, like, I don't know, I just felt like you didn't take yourself too seriously. I kind of related to like how you live your life. And also I wanted to aspire to be like you guys.
That's very sweet. I appreciate that. So let's move back. What is—
Not before I knew you though.
Yeah, exactly. Before we became friends. So what is your main, like if an agent's calling you and they want to know what their main lead generation spoke should be, an agent's, you know, one of your premier coaching clients, one of your one-on-one coaching clients, they want to know what's my first spoke? And if you feel comfortable, could you explain the spokes on the wheel analogy, and then what you will coach someone to do? I know it's dependent on their strengths and their weaknesses, but as a general answer, feel free.
I mean, there's so much to that question. One is like what they're willing to do, because there's someone that could say, I want to be a listing agent and I'll do whatever it takes. And saying it and then doing it are completely different. So what is someone willing to do is the first question. Like, what would you feel comfortable? What do you think that you could see yourself doing? The spokes on the wheel analogy would be, if I've heard it a million times and I can't do it as good as you, but I'll try, is that if you were riding a bike, right? Imagine the old bike, like when you were 10 years old and you had spokes on the wheel, right? If you were riding the bike, would you feel confident that you're going to have a safe ride if it only had one of those little spokes going from the wheel to the center spoke, right? You wouldn't, because it wouldn't go very far. And the goal, obviously, is to build multiple spokes, and so that you have one here, one at the bottom, one on the side, so that when you ride the bike, you have you're safe. You're going to have a consistent ride. You know what you're getting. And this ideal situation is you have multiple places where you're getting leads from, so that you can have a consistent cash flowing style business.
And you're doing that outside of real estate too, but you've got multiple sources of real estate leads. You're developing multiple sources of income. You've invested in some gyms. You've got EXP revenue share. So you're doing exactly that. But the original concept was, you nailed it, by the way, was essentially what most agents suffer from. And the reason that they have inconsistent lead flow and cash flow is because they're called one spoke wonders, as we call them. Bicycle wheel, one spoke, you know, you're rolling down the street with your bicycle, your front wheel hits a little pebble, that front wheel is going to collapse, because there's no integrity to the wheel. There's no integrity to your lead sources. And so one of the things that, well, the first thing, Brandon, that, you know, what would be something, let's say they're willing to Let's say it's somebody that's absolutely willing, they're a new agent, they're absolutely willing to do whatever is necessary for them to generate a closing in the next 90 days or less. What would you tell them to do? What should be the first spoke that they would focus on?
If someone was willing to do whatever it took, you have to look at like what is the path of most success that has been proven over years and years in all different markets. And to me, that would be calling expired listings, because an expired, for those that don't know, is a house that has been on the market. It didn't make it through. It didn't sell. And so it's off the market. You have someone that has literally said, I want to sell my house today, right? So one, you have someone that's ready today. Two, they've already hired their best friend or the neighborhood expert or the natural agent that would be the right fit, and it didn't work, right? So they're open to a different person, right? So that I've raised my hand, I'm ready today, I'm ready to hire someone else. And two or three, they what they were doing wasn't working, so they're more open. Like if it's the wrong price, if they needed to paint the room, if they needed to do something, they're more willing to make those changes. And so you have right there someone that is going to help you get from $0 to a closing as fast as possible. And so that's why that's the first lead spoke, that if you're willing to put in the effort, that's the one I would push towards.
Yep, that'd be mine too, for sure. Yeah, and yet agents, what do they lean into? Buying leads. They lean into, I'm going to join team and wait for a team to give me some bot leads. They just do all these other things that result in them constantly. Well, if they even close any of those buyers, basically bought buyer leads. I've never, and I never will understand why anybody buys a buyer lead. It just doesn't make sense. Buyer leads with one listing, you get so many buyer leads off one listing. If you want buyer leads, take a listing and you'll have to beat the buyer leads. I mean, they'll be everywhere, right? So anyway, yes, I agree with you completely. Out of curiosity, what would be the second spoke? Same person, they're willing to really drill down and work hard. What would be the second lead source you'd suggest they chase?
Well, something that I'm put into my business is a similar model, but it's door knocking expireds, which is where I'm doing that now. I mean, you're able to connect with people in a different capacity. Someone can is more open to giving you their true objections if you're face to face with them. And also, not every expired listing has a phone number that's actually correct. You go to their door, if they're living there, it's going to be that person, right? And then it would be FSBOs would be like tier 3. So, and those top 3 are all like top of the top best leads, and they're all 3 listing leads, which is, if you want to have a life where you spend time with your family, you go to kids' practices, you have cash flow consistently, your time is most valuable, then you should always be striving to get as many listings as possible. So the majority of your business is going to come from listing sales more than buyer sales, which look, a buyer closing pays the same as a seller closing. It's a question of time.
Well, as Julie says, it's in our book, Harris Rules, right? Working with buyers is physical labor, working with sellers is mental labor. But if you have the choice, you always want to work with sellers, because the difference between a seller lead and a buyer lead, it comes down to, it's a very simple fact. There's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy. And listeners or viewers, be very clear about that. There's no such thing as a buyer that has to buy. A buyer can always, wait till the next year, do a remodel on their house, refinance, stay longer, stay in their mom's basement, whatever it is, right? They don't actually have to transact. They can change their mind, and they do frequently. They change their mind because interest rates go up. They change their minds because whatever happens, right? Sellers, we're going to teach you in Premier Coaching to identify, and Brandon just told you one of the best ones, expired listings, how to go after sellers. Seller leads don't cost you anything. You can get seller leads for free. No referral fees. You don't have to buy them. If you don't believe me, go to your MLS right now and you go and see how many expireds there were in your MLS in the last 12 months. Go do it. I challenge you. Your entire MLS, and you're going to see in many major markets, there's thousands, and if not thousands, but tens of thousands of expired listings. Every one of those in the United States are worth, on average, about $400,000. We know that 90% of all expires relist and sell within 6 months. We know that your number one competition, listen to Brandon, is your former agent, who basically is going to be ruled out because, Mr. Seller, I appreciate the fact you're considering listing with your old agent, but what do you think they're going to do differently this time to get your home sold that they hadn't already tried? And you're going to get a listing appointment. You're going to follow our listing process. You're going to send them a pre-listing pack. You're going to show them the fact you're an ethical real estate professional. you're going to win that listing, and you're going to, frankly, build more momentum in your real estate business than you possibly can if you listen to what Brandon Jackson just told you. So Brandon, next question. What are the biggest, you talk to agents all day, I know you do. What are the biggest struggles that you feel agents are having right now? Like if you could wave a magic wand and make one problem go away that premier coaching clients or agents in general are experiencing right now, what would it be?
Consistent deal flow would
Mm.
be the number. That's everyone's. It's cash flow, lack of cash flow. If you're not making enough money, you're not going to be able to be a full-time agent. You're going to have to get a job. And so I would say the number one problem across the board of all agents is just not getting enough opportunities, not talking to enough people, and not getting closings.
Not doing consistent lead generation, not
Yeah.
doing what they don't want to do when they don't. I mean, I hate saying it. You guys got to hate hearing it, right? I mean, honestly, if you want ever increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, because I have to do it too, you have to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. I mean, how many things, Ruschele, today, unmute yourself, did you do today that you didn't want to do when you didn't want to do it at the highest level? I mean, how many things so far did you do today because you were just so excited to do it? Anything?
No.
Not a
I
damn
didn't
thing,
want to
right?
do anything.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I've had kind of a real struggle in the last, week pretty consistently. It's been one thing after another that I've had to force myself to do at a high level. But I know doing those things is going to build momentum. And that's what Brandon was trying to express with the prospecting, the lead generation. And I love the fact you mentioned going to the expired doors, because even though there is a do not call list, there's no such thing as a do not knock list. And every single agent, your competition, is also trying to go after expireds. They're mailing, very few of them are calling, but nobody's knocking on the door. I mean, Brandon, have you come across a single expired where they said, you're the 10th person to knock on my door?
Never.
Have you come across?
There very few. I'll see like a card in the door. So I know some other agents are doing it, but the competition is extremely low.
Yeah, it is. All right, I appreciate that. Anything else you'd like to say to these guys as I round the bend with you and I move on to Mr. Ruschele?
No. I'm here to help. I want to be a service if there's anything I can do.
All right, good. I really appreciate it. I really, really sincerely appreciate your continued support of our coaching organization. You being such a wonderful coach. People really do love you. You guys are going to be getting to know Brandon because he's one of your premier coaching coaches. All right, Mr. Ruschele, you're next.
I'm ready.
Has it only been 20 years that we've known each other, or has it been longer?
28.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, good Lord, we're old.
I was just a kid, and so were you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's true. So can we tell the story about the first time we met?
As long as you don't exaggerate, yes.
No, I can't tell the story without exaggerating.
Okay, exaggerate.
No, I won't tell it. I won't tell it.
I had a mini skirt on. He's gonna say that.
It was an interview. It was very inappropriate. And the instructions I gave her after we told her that we were going to hire her was go buy appropriate clothes or something to that degree.
No, you said sell your Miata, buy a BMW, move to Columbus, and take this whole box home with you and start your 30 days to success.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, well, then I may have thought, I hope next time she shows up, she dresses more appropriately. Maybe I would have thought that.
I did.
So Ruschele, let's start with you. Same question. All right. Now you've been one-on-one coach with us. You help us build our real estate team. You are involved in thousands of sales right along with Julie and I. You manage 7 buyers agents for us. You've taken listings. You were in the front lines with Julie and I almost through our entire real estate careers, all except I think the first 2 years, maybe something like that. So the question I have for you is, if you have and you do an absolutely fantastic job mothering some of the coaching clients who need extra love and care. So anytime I get one that needs an extra big mom hug, I always send them to you. So if one of these agents calls you, same question I asked Brandon, and they absolutely positively need to generate a transaction in the next 90 days or less, what are you going to tell them to do? And you can't use Brandon's answer. Oh, you know what? I'll make it easier on you, okay? They have to generate cash flow in the next 90 days or less.
Okay. When I first got my license, my answer would be different than it is now. So it would be between BPOs and open houses. When I first got my license, it was all about open houses. But now that BPOs are a big part of the market, going out, BPOs aren't just for cash flow. They're to help you be a better listing agent. They're help you with adjustments and knowing how to properly price a property. So I always suggest to anybody that's new in real estate is to get into BPOs, or not even new, but wants to be a better listing agent, wants, some cash flow. BPOs are going to do that for you. You're going to know the market better than anybody.
Hang
You
on a
realize
second.
that
Let's
I
define
know
what a BPO is.
exactly.
Broker price opinion.
I mean, because we're preaching to the choir here with most of the people listening and watching, but the reality it
Sorry
is,
about
Julie's
that.
right. Most people, look, we're coming during the housing crash when we were taking on so many clients as a result of the housing crash. We were telling everyone to do BPOs because it led to REOs, but it also led to immediate cash flow and it led to mastery of the market, all the things, right? But now agents, the whole generation of agents, Ruschele, this is true in the last, 16 years since the housing crash, 17 practically. Isn't that amazing to think about, by the way? That there's a whole generation that don't even know what BPOs are. And so listeners, Ruschele's going to right now tell you what a BPO is. And if you need to make money now and you want to make cash flow now, if you want to put money in your pocket now that's not transaction related, this is maybe an idea for you. This would be another good spoke depending on what frankly, what your quirks and your features and your strengths and your weaknesses are, or frankly, the urgency in which you need money. So Ruschele, explain to them from a top level down.
So a BPO stands for broker price opinion. So banks and lenders and asset managers will assign this to an agent to go and take pictures and come up with the value of that property. You get paid for doing that. There's several different types of BPOs, but now they're paying more than they used to. Fannie, Freddie, and HUD have went the direction with Astor Room, which is a kind of a virtual setting where you take in your little tripod and it does the BPO for you. And those pay very, very well. And they are coming out like crazy. So
Well, let me ask a question. Okay.
Sure.
Let me ask a question. And remember, we only have a limited amount of time. So I know it's your tendency because you're a coach to drill down and give too much information. Trust me, I do the same thing, but let's just give them an overview so they can understand. So a broker price opinion is ordered for all kinds of different reasons. It's ordered I think traditional reasons because the person is maybe missed a house payment or they're starting to show signs that they might be in some kind of financial duress. And the bank is going to order a BPO, oftentimes without the owner knowing. I mean, and sometimes the owner knowing, sometimes they're not. So there's those. And, you're going to get orders like that. You're going to get orders where the banks are trying to ascertain what the value of a property is that they maybe already have in foreclosure or already going to take back from foreclosure. You can pick it up from there. What else am I missing?
they use it to drop PMI. They use it for refinancing. So there are different ways and reasons why they use BPOs. And one of my favorite things is in my pre-listing packet, one of the things says, I've done over 10,000 BPOs for banks and asset managers. Who would you trust more to price your home than somebody that does this for banks and asset managers? So that's a really big part of my pre-listing packet that gets a lot of attention.
And a broker price opinion is just an elaborate version of a CMA, and you use the bank's forms and all those types of things. The average so what we do in Premier Coaching is we are going to teach you, guess who's going to teach you? Mr. Ruschele's going to teach you how to do a BPO. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out, this is the math for you guys. And Julie, chime in here if I miss anything. If you guys listen to the podcast, Julie and I very much share a brain. All right. So here's your math. Do this really quick, dear listener. Go and figure out how much money you have to earn per month. So one of you are going to do some math for me. Who's going to do the math? Mr. Ruschele?
Got it.
All right. Let's say you have to earn $7,500 per month to pay all of your bills. That includes your house payment, your car payment, your food, your everything, $7,500. And let's say you're going to work and your average BPO, what is it paying now, Ruschele?
On average, about 70.
Okay, $70. All right. So Ruschele, how many BPOs, and then divide that by 30 and tell me how many BPOs they have to do a day. If all they want to do is BPOs during $7,500 a month. Who's going to do the math quickest? Julie's doing it, I can tell. It's a race.
Faster than I am.
Okay, so here's the point, listener. If you're in a situation where you need cash flow now, when you join Premier Coaching, we're going to show you our BPO system. We're going to give you the phone numbers. We're going to tell you how to fill out the forms. Ruschele's going to personally help you with your resume. You're going to learn how to make enough money every single day. So here's what we will, depending on your situation. I mean, I love Brandon's answer about doing REOs. I'm sorry, about doing expireds for sure. But what Rochelle's saying, if you're somebody that can do that type of work, likes that type of work, you now are going to get a formula to earn about $100,000 a year, 80 something thousand dollars a year, doing nothing other than BPOs. No, it's about 100. And you're going to be doing those mostly sitting at home in front of a computer, which should appeal to basically all of you, right? All right.
It
So
still
Julie,
works out to between 5 and 6 a day, 5 days a week.
okay.
And, you know, I think that the mistake that some agents make when they hear, oh, you know, you can get paid $70 to do a BPO is they'll say, well, $70, what can I do with $70? Well, it's the systematization. It's being able to do them efficiently, like Coach Rochelle has learned to do and does and teaches you how to do that, so that you could easily do 5 or 6 a day once you have the systems down, you know how to do the adjustments, et cetera. And especially with some of the automated systems that you have now that we didn't used to have before, so that you then can scale it a bit. And the question becomes this: how would you look at the rest of your real estate business, your sales, you know, doing open houses and getting consistent income, if you at least knew that your $7,500 a month overhead was covered by doing CMAs? And I always also ask agents, how many CMAs have you done for free? You do those all the time without even thinking about it. Could you do 5 paid per day? Maybe not every day, but even if you had half of your monthly overhead covered, that gives you the freedom to go after some of the other things. Some agents get stymied because they're so stressed out about how they're going to have that cash flow, not just next month, but the month after that. And that creates so much stress that they don't do the things that they need to do to grow their business.
That's
That
right.
makes
And
sense.
so, yeah, no, it's beautiful. So as far as that goes, Julie, or actually Rochelle, when somebody is efficient and good at doing this, when they've done it consistently, when they move to the point where they're sort of on autopilot doing it, realistically, let's not overstate it. How long will it take them to do each BPO?
Not including pictures, less than an hour.
Okay. So you're talking about if someone wanted to do this 5 a day, you're looking at about 5 hours a day. Is that what you're suggesting?
Realistically, but as you get better, it'll go down to 20 minutes. It depends on the company, the BPO, but realistically, definitely less than an hour.
And if you're doing condos in a development where there's like all the same sort of model match kind of thing, and they're all kind of the same exact comps, then it's going to take you a lot shorter period of time. If you're dealing with custom homes that are all kind of wackadoodle designs, then you're going to be completely dealing with a different can of worms. And every major market, Rochelle, I know you pay attention to this. What has been the increase? Like if I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, or if I'm upstate New York, or if I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, what are you seeing as far as the increase in the number of BPOs?
The increase has,
The requests.
the request is definitely has been a lot larger since the new year. After it changed, it wasn't 2024 anymore. They started pouring in. I get probably realistically about 25 requests a day.
A day.
A day.
What do you, so how are you managing all of that?
I don't do them all.
You
I
take
pick
the
the ones I want.
You take the ones that are closest to pay the most, I'm guessing.
Yes.
May
Yeah.
I point out our saying, when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. And Rochelle's learned to generate and be a bit more picky.
And you have, and commercial BPOs pay a lot more. You can get into the thousands of dollars for some commercial BPOs. So if there's commercial agents listening, definitely want to tune into what we just said. So Rochelle, let me ask you the next question. You wrote down, this is your second question, what is your why? So I'm going to let you answer that because I'm not sure what you meant, because it seems to me like your why should always be to being of service to other people and make money. But if you have something more profound and spiritual sounding, more highfalutin, let's hear it. Let's go.
I really don't.
Oh, that was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Yes. Raising my daughter and giving her everything I didn't have. That is basically why I want to be successful.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you know what? That motivation never goes away too. You know, our little 11-year-old Zoe, and you're basically Aunt Rochelle at this point, you know, that definitely keeps you motivated. Yeah, I love it. So Rochelle, someone's coming to you. What are the most common challenges that you see agents are having right now in the marketplace? Like same question I asked Brandon. If you could wave a magic wand and make one particular problem go away, Brandon's answer was inconsistent lead flow, basically leading to inconsistent cash flow. What's your answer? What's the one issue you wish you could make agents completely understand so you never have to hear the question again?
Fear.
Fear.
They're so afraid to try a new spoke, to try door knocking, to try a BPO. It's fear. If I could just get them to understand that if they just do it one time, just like door knocking, go knock on one door. When you're done, you're going to realize it wasn't that big of a deal. Same with BPOs, same with any spoke that we use. Everybody's so afraid to try something new.
We talk about that on the podcast a lot. I like your direct answer. And it's fascinating. If it wasn't for the fear factor that many agents experience, there wouldn't be all these companies selling leads. There wouldn't be all these marketing and branding companies, all these things that are trying to convince agents that they don't ever have to move past the fear and they don't have to do what they don't want to do and they don't want to do at the highest level. So, I mean, that's essentially what I heard you say, right? The fear is holding them back, and the fear is largely irrational because we don't ask them to do anything complicated. Damn, making a really good, compelling YouTube video or a TikTok video. I mean, those dance moves, I'd be throwing my hip out all the damn time, for sure, right? I mean, I'm not doing that, you know?
Yeah,
maybe Brandon will.
I could see Brandon doing that.
I was just practicing my dance moves before this call.
Well, I mean, don't you think it's fascinating that the things that we ask them to do will put money in their pocket faster? We'll put them in a position to help people, help people at a higher level faster. We'll give them confidence faster, and we'll essentially make it so that, ultimately they are in alignment with their highest and truest purpose, which is being themselves as the highest level version of themselves as a real estate practitioner. And all these other things are just distractions. All the easy shiny object buttons, and you guys have all talked about that before. So I'm curious, and this is a general question. I'm going to move to Ken and Ziggy and maybe Julie. Julie certainly participate. If one of the biggest challenges that I think we all have collectively at coaching at the level that all of us are, is how do we convince agents to do the hard stuff first? Who wants to answer that question? Ken, unmuted.
Okay. Well, my thought was, Julie had this conversation with me. If you, for example, calling expireds, if you spend an hour calling expireds and say you get 2 or 3 potential leads, she would always do the math backwards with me to say, hey, today's hour on the call of calling expireds, and you have 3 potential clients at your average $10,000 commission, that's $30,000 potentially from today. So she would do that reverse engineering with the math and show the potential what that one lead source could provide. And that alone was motivating to stay on the dialer and keep making more calls. What was your question? Did I even go the right direction?
No, that was a good question. But you see, you answered your question. You answered the question in a very succinct, professional way, because what you're saying is it's not a mindset issue, it's an action issue. You weren't saying it's a bunch of thinking about. You were saying pick up the damn phone and do the work, and then the benefit, you'll get the motivation and the mindset will improve as you see yourself taking action. And just doing the work is the payoff, and then you start getting the reward, and then your mindset changes. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah, because getting ready to get ready, you're never ready and you never get there. But if you just pick up the phone and jump in, you're going to muddle through it, and each call you're going to get better.
Yeah, that's it. And it does take time. And that's another painful truth, right? I'm glad that nobody told me the truth when I was younger, that everything in life worth having takes a hell of a lot longer than you think it should. I'm glad nobody told me that, because I probably wouldn't have gotten started doing anything. I'm glad everyone I talked to said, oh, it's going to be easy, just do this, because I believed them. And then, I kept at it, fortunately. And I think all of you guys are benefiting from the same thing. So Ken, since you're talking, and Ziggy, do you mind going last? Because I'm really looking forward to them telling you your motivational story. I love it personally. By the way, Ziggy, I'm going to tell the story about the first time we met. All right, Ken. So yeah. Where are your questions? Oh, okay. And I love your questions, by the way. How has Premier Coaching elevated your real estate business? And Julie has been your personal coach for a while, and she tells me about almost all of your coaching calls, because she learns from that's a little secret about being, a coach. They're very cathartic, right? You learn from your coaching clients, and she always tells me what she's learning from what you're learning from. So how have you benefited from participation in Premier Coaching from an agent's perspective?
I would say I was, to back up even before Premier Coaching, I listened to the podcast for years, and I would think, I just need to do this. I need to do this. And eventually I did it. I signed up for Premier during COVID. And back in those days, you had access to everything, and it was a little overwhelming. Today, it's more systematized and there's structure to it, which I appreciate. But Premier Coaching, to me, it's like going to the office and being amongst like-minded people. It keeps you on target. It keeps you focused. It keeps you in the real estate mindset versus thinking about, oh, I need to go change the laundry. I need to go. the landscaper's here, I need to go wash the car, and you can find 1,000 deviations or interruptions of what to do differently in your day. So Premier Coaching has kind of provided structure, consistency. It's upped my game as far as accountability goes, which includes, accountability boards, treasure maps, all the things Premier Coaching teaches just kind of sharpened my tools and made me a better agent.
I appreciate that. And now that you're moving to be a Premier Coaching coach, which we're really looking forward to, what is it that you like? And I know you've had a lot of very in-depth conversations with Julie, not just about building your skills as a practitioner. I'm going to say this too, Ken. One of the reasons that I knew that you would be a fantastic coach was because you were unwilling to coach something that you personally hadn't done at a high level. True story. So
Correct.
You did not want to be a hypocrite, and you weren't willing to coach agents to call expireds if you'd not done it successfully. That's badass. As soon as Julie told me that, I told her that was the guy. Seriously, that meant the world to me, because the world is so full of fakey dudes. The world is so full of tall hat, no cattle types. And, finding someone with integrity is really hard. So I sincerely appreciate you being one of our great coaches. So I'm curious, what are you thinking? It looks like you're on bated breath.
No, I'm just listening. I remember, signing up with RedX and getting the dialer and making those calls, and people hanging up on me or not even getting me to, I couldn't get 2 words in, and I just stuck with it. I knew it'd get better, it'd get easier. And then I would actually get appointments, and I'd go to the appointment, and it just evolved, and it became pretty easy. When I went down to Mexico for a while, it's really hard to call expireds when you don't have boots on the ground to go meet people in the event they want an appointment. So I tried to align a few people here in town that were willing and ready to go. And it felt like I was missing part of my day when I wasn't doing proactive lead generation, which was calling expireds, that I'd gotten so used to doing, because I knew Julie was going to ask me, how much time did you spend on calls? How many calls did you make? Tell me about your feedback. And then she'd always kind of dangle that carrot on the potential of how much money there was just in that one lead source alone.
So give me an example. Julie, actually, why don't you chime in here and tell us how you motivated him to do what he didn't want to do and he didn't want to do at the highest level?
Well, I mean, first of all, kudos to you, Ken, for not giving up, because most people do give up. Most people, I think, partially to Rochelle's point, they're fearful to get started in the first place, and then they dabble in it. And we used to, sometimes we call coaching clients, or not, worse yet, non-coaching clients, that they just kind of try it. I'm going to try a for sale by owner. I've tried an expired. They made like 3 calls, wasn't for them. Expired hunting doesn't work, so I don't think you ever once said that to me on a coaching call, is that, well, I've tried, it's not going to work for me. So number one, you didn't give up. Number two, you recognized, as we need all of our coaching clients to, that you don't actually have to be perfect at it to get results. You just have to do the work and start getting the results, and are also a great example, excuse me, of someone that now knows, once you've done a few of those appointments, the nature of the coaching also changes, because we can talk about the results you're getting, real objections, real world stuff that you're dealing with. For people that don't take that first step, they're just talking about getting started continuously. We call that Groundhog Day in coaching. You did the work, you got the results. And to answer Tim's question, some of the things that we talked about that I know you'll bring into your coaching too, and I know the other coaches do this, is when a client has a win, maybe they had a really killer week, they stuck to their schedule, they did the calls, they did their lead follow-up, they set 3 appointments, whether they're buyers, sellers, or what have you, you then can spin the math up and say, kudos to you, you did the work, you got great results. What if you were to do that, maybe not 12 months of the year, maybe not even 4 weeks of the month? And I think that we did this on some of your calls. What if you were that focused 3 weeks out of every month, and you only work 10 months a year? Because we know realistically, that's kind of the agent's life, right? And then you spin the math up and you say, well, those 2 appointments times an average of $10,000 per appointment, that's at least the work you did that showed that you have that ability. Did you know that you could make 240 grand a year just with expireds, just working part-time on expireds, not even being 100% kick ass at it? You can do that. And then you apply that, like Brandon, I know I've seen you do this on Premier calls, where you do that to for sale by owner math. You know, if you just converted one per month, that spoke alone is worth at least 100 grand to every single coaching client, you know? So that's what gets me excited. And I know Ken is the embodiment of somebody who said, you know, I've done a lot in real estate. I've been a practitioner for a long time, but here's this one thing that I'm not going to coach until I've done it. And I think that he's a great demonstration of why all of our coaches at our organization are not just licensed, but are actively in the business.
So let me say something, and this is important. So we are talking about proactive lead generation. We're talking about a skills-based approach to real estate. We're talking about practical and tactical. We're talking about actually putting you in a position to help people make money. We are proponents. So where there's passive lead generation and there's proactive lead generation. Proactive lead generation is when you actually put yourself in front of a prospective, ideally seller or buyer, about obviously buying or selling real estate. Passive is all the other things. Passive is the marketing and the branding and the Facebook ads and the funnels and the drip campaigns and the emails and all those things. I want you to please listen to what I'm saying right now. And Julie, check me on my numbers as always, right? 71% or 74% of all agents last year sold a total of 0 houses, 0. So there's 1.5 million agents in the United States. That essentially means that most agents made no money selling real estate. But I bet you all those agents did spend some money or effort on their marketing and their branding and their Facebook ads. That stuff is there to, if it works at all, it's designed to reinforce the proactive lead generation. The reason that so many agents are struggling, frankly, failing right now, worse probably in the almost 30 years that Julie and I have been in the real estate space, the reason that so many agents are failing so fast is because they're never learning the skills. They're never learning how to actually go out there and earn the business consistently. What way to focus on in our coaching organization. I realize that we're the only ones in this industry that are still talking about this stuff at this level. And trust me when I tell you, we are getting pulled in all these different directions. People trying to get us to talk more about marketing and branding and advertising. And we do talk about it. And it is part of Premier Coaching, but we put it in its place. You have to do the proactive lead generation first. And when you do that consistently every single day, you will have consistent lead flow, consistent cash flow, consistent increasing your levels of confidence. And you will get to that 4th level, which is conscious competence. Did I get it right? Yes. All right, cool. So Ken, anything else you'd like to say? I know you've got there's one other question. I guess I'll ask the 3rd question, but if you got something to.
Well, I would just say to Julie's point, so even if you're not, in your terms, kick ass or really good at any one of those lead generation or one of those spokes, if you're just kind of okay at 4 or 5 and you can see the math could bring you potentially $100,000 a year, there's no reason you can't make the money you want to make, but it just requires consistency. And as you always say, doing what you don't want to do and you don't want to do it at the highest level. And it's just having that repetition to get it done. It's and Julie really kind of brought that to a highlight in all of our calls.
Yeah, look, there's a thank you. And there's a decision that all of us have to make. And you need to really internalize this question that you have to make a decision if you're going to be right now at this point in your life. Are you going to make the choice to be rich? Or are you going to make the or make the choice to be famous? I'm oversimplifying this, but I want you to really think about that question. Are you going to choose to be rich where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money? Where you've built a profitable real estate business, and with that profit, you've reinvested it into things that are going to make you passive income. Sounds good, right? I hope. Or are you going to invest it in becoming famous, where you're an influencer? There are so many people in the real estate space, coaches, that are trying to teach you guys to be influencers. But if you have to choose between being rich and free, rich is where your money works for you, you no longer have to work for your money, or famous, where you get recognized when you go to the grocery store, which are you going to choose? And here's what I found consistently. And you guys, I'd love your feedback on this. The older you get, the more you wish you would have chosen to be rich. And when you're younger, even though younger people will say, I want to be rich, they almost always want to, be famous. They always there's something innate in all of us when we're younger that wants that level of recognition. But trust me, I am telling you a version of yourself into the future, yourself in 10 years. You would have wished you would have focused more of your energy on doing the real work of real estate so you could have built a consistent cash flow business. Did we talk today at all about buying leads, about paying referral fees, about doing marketing, branding, and advertising? We can do another one of these sessions to talk about all that. No, we didn't. Why? Because we're trying to tell you and get you to focus on the truth. What if you want to, frankly, have a business that you're truly, truly proud of, that produces consistent cash flow, consistent net profit, then you're going to have to learn and to master the art and science of doing the real work of real estate. And as Ken pointed out, you don't have to be that good at it. You don't. Oftentimes, just being there, knocking on that door, having that conversation, using our scripts, using our 7-step listing process, sending our pre-listing pack is going to win you the business. You just have to do the work. And when you do, the reward is going to be your emotional attachment to seeing yourself do the work. And then you're going to start getting results from it. And trust me when I tell you, that's the very definition of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ziggy, thank you for your time today. Do you like that transition? That transition was a little abrupt, but you know, that's me. All right. So, right. Ziggy. All right. So, I met Ziggy for the first time at an EXP Realty event in Georgetown, Texas in 2019. And I'm going to tell you, I never told you this, but I saw her from across the room because she had an effervescent smile. And even though she's a not tall person, not that I am, but even though she's a, not tall person, she was obviously had something going on. She was obviously special. And she came up to me and she immediately, introduced herself. And I remember, and to this day, that experience, because you had power in your presentation. And I knew immediately, and I probably told it to you, I'm pretty sure I did, that you had some energy about you. I knew that if you were willing to do the real work of real estate, you were going to be amazing. And at the time, you weren't even a full-time agent, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Right. So let's talk about that. Talk about how you transition into being real estate full-time, because that's something that resonates with a lot of people out there, because there's a lot of people out there that need to create other sources of income, or, they're retiring from being firefighters. We have a lot of people that were, armed forces types. We have a lot of people that are retired airline pilots. You guys know all these people. They're our coaching clients, right? So how do you transition? Give these folks some advice on what they can do to transition from being part-time to full-time.
Yeah, I'd say maximize the opportunity at your full-time job. Maximize the pool of people that you have access to every day. And that's what I did. I built my real estate business, using the people that I worked with every single day. I'd have open houses and showings on the weekends, and I made sure I talk about it around the water cooler during the work week. Make sure you understand, it was important for me to understand my finances, and that I needed to make 2.5 times my salary as an entrepreneur. That was something that was an eye opener to me. I didn't realize that I needed to make that much more money than my salary in order to, conduct real estate full time, and have momentum. Don't, unless you absolutely have to, build your business while you have the job, and build it to have 6 months of reserve, or 6 months of deals lined up already. You have your full pipeline before you go jump and ship. It's important to have that momentum.
Let me emphasize what you just said, because that is something that's really important, because we do all of us get this question a lot. I don't want to work in my job anymore. I want to quit my job. And well, what do? I am a teacher and I have health insurance and I earn $80,000 a year and I have tenure. I've been here forever. 3 more years and I'm gonna have a full freaking pension. I want to create real estate. I want to go full-time in real estate. No, you don't. That is called dumb. Right? Who else says that? It's the truth. If you want to do real estate, if you want to transition to real estate, do it part-time, and then don't give up your main income, especially if you have other mouths to feed. Now, if you are a lone ranger and you have no cats, dogs, kids, or fish to feed, and it's just you and you have nobody's at risk, if you're not earning income and you want to take that risk, go for it. But otherwise, you have to abide by the commitments you've already made. And if you have a family and you have obligations, you need to put those people's needs first, because you've already committed to them before you start your career selling real estate. Ziggy, what are you thinking as I say that? Because I think I remember having that conversation with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had, I carried the health insurance, for my family. I had mouths to feed. And that's why it was important for me to stay put for 4 years and build my real estate business until I had enough experience under my belt and enough momentum and enough deals in the pipeline that I could realistically leave. And I left in January of 2020, just before the COVID hit. But, you know, it freed up all that time and, you know, maximize the time that you do have. So, you know, I had very little amount of time, you know, raising 2 kids, coaching their soccer teams. I had very little time that I could proactively prospect. But I did, you know, during my lunch hour, after hours, I was out showing property. So I was maximizing the time that I did have available to me.
It's fascinating. I've had several really fantastic coaching clients, all of you guys had, where they were full-time doing something else and only could do real estate with intensity, maybe 3 days of the week. And because they don't have time to waste, like agents have, you know, 8 hours a day to screw around, thus all the marketing, branding, and Facebook groups. But if you have a very limited amount of time, or if you can be a full-time agent, if you learn how to have discipline of a morning schedule, like we teach you in Premier Coaching, then you're creating that sense of urgency every single day that you'll get a hell of a lot more done. But you do get more efficient. You do know you've got 3 hours on Saturday morning, and then you got that soccer practice. You're going to set a listing appointment. So that is a huge difference. So I want to talk to you. Your next question was lead generation spokes. And this is a really, talk to them about, you started, well, you tell your story, right? Lead generation, you started out with one specific spoke, and then you ebbed and flowed with it a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I bounced back and forth. I bought a lot of shiny things when I first started until I started your coaching program. I was mainly focused on, you know, sphere of influence referrals was my bread and butter. That was my, you know, my one spoke. I was the one spoke wonder. And it wasn't until I started your coaching program that I, you know, dove into expireds and for sale by owners and probate. Just because that was, you know, that was how you know, that was what you coached.
Right. And you also, yeah, the for sale by owners. So if I remember correctly, you started out with for sale by owners, you jumped in 2 feet, you had some success, and then you fell off the horse, and then you went back to it. Am I remembering correctly?
You are, yeah.
Okay. Are you surprised I'm remembering correctly? Be honest.
No,
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
So I remember talking about it with you. So why did you stop doing it? And well, that's the question. And when it was working for you, why did you stop doing it?
I got complacent. You know, I was focusing, I was tangled up in the minutia. I was of each of the deals. I stopped proactively lead generating and I got complacent. And before I knew it, I had an empty pipeline.
Okay. And so when someone, very common problem, when someone is one of the coaching clients, when their premier coaching clients are experiencing that, how do you coach them to avoid that? The ups and downs in cash flow, lead generate, got leads, sold leads, leads in contract, service leads, no leads, go broke, do it all over again. How do you break that, you know, that cycle? What do you
Yeah,
tell them?
consistency in, you know, come up with a daily schedule, have consistency in your day, have consistency, you know, daily, weekly. And, you know, again, back to your coaching, one of the first hires that I made, or one of the first acquisitions, if you will, was a transaction coordinator to assist with, you know, all the minutia that each deal generated. You know, kind of farm that paperwork out to a transaction coordinator so that I could focus on the dollar productive activities.
Excellent. So the next number 4 question, which I really like. So you mentioned Premier Coaching. You joined as a Premier Coaching client. Julie and I were attracted to you from day one, but we really liked you when we saw the fact that you were able to transition successfully, which was your original goal, from full-time employment to full-time selling real estate. And then you consistently, hey, I'm going to ask you to do something that'll embarrass you. You ready?
Okay, what?
All right. Oh, look at her. Spin the camera so we can see your dry erase board from hell.
Oh, I cleaned it up. You don't want to see
Oh,
my
you're
erase.
ruining my fun. Let's see it and explain it. Oh, you did clean it up. That's no
I
fun for
cleaned it
me.
up. I cleaned it
Okay.
up.
Last time I saw that, it looked like, you know, look at Brandon seeing how many deals you have in contract. Did you see him looking? Nosy.
Yeah, I've got 5 pending, 4 coming soons.
All right. So the dry erase board, and that's a very simple business organization system that we teach them in Premier Coaching as part of, you know, the real estate success map. Can you explain that to them? The real estate treasure map, rather. Can you explain the essence that we can't see part of your board, but can you explain how you organize it?
Sure,
And
absolutely.
you obviously write really small too. So, but
I write really small and I have big goals, right? So
you gotta have room.
up here, I have my listings and I have a lot of white space, so I know I have to make phone calls. I have some
Okay.
coming soon. Go ahead.
But stop right there. What you just said's awesome. I see with my little eye. How many how many numbers do you have right on that board under listings?
12.
Okay, you have 12 listings. And how many active listings do you have right now?
2.
Okay, so when you walk into your office after you have a big closing and you think you're woo, look at me. And you look at your board and you realize you're 10 listings shy of what you need to be for your goals of having 12 listings at all times. What does that do to you psychologically?
It makes me panic and it motivates me to make phone calls.
To do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. And what most agents is they don't want that level of visual accountability, but that's a passive, very powerful form of visual accountability that all of our top coaching clients have done for years. Julie and I did the exact same thing when we sold real estate, because you could have a great month. You walk in your office and you realize you need 15 listings at all times to meet or exceed your financial goals. And we're going to teach you how to do that in Premier Coaching as part of the Real Estate Treasure Map. And you have 4 listings. You're all of a sudden not so, as cool as you thought you were. You get back on the phone, you do the real work of real estate to actually earn the listings. Because what happens, dear listener, in Ziggy's formula is evidently what, 15 listings at all times, or is it 12?
12.
Okay, so 12 listings at all times. On autopilot, how many of those will sell almost automatically every single month?
3.
Okay, very good. So you have a relatively slow market.
I have a relatively slow market.
Yep. And each of those listings, when they sell, is worth how much money?
And actually, I'll preface that with, because we still have a lot of sellers with aspirational pricing in mind. So, it takes the first price reduction in order to get those listings sold.
Yeah. So aspirational pricing is Harris code for overpriced listings. All right. So yeah, but it's a nice way of saying it. All right. So, right. So if you have 3 listings that close every single month and you have 12 listings at all times, what's your average commission per listing?
About 10 grand.
So you're making $360,000 a year with working with no buyers, with not paying any damn referrals, with doing no marketing fee, no funnels, no branding, no marketing, no moving trucks, no bus boards, and no whatever the hell else people are doing. Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
And these are coming from where?
For sale by owners, expireds, probate, sphere of
Referrals.
influence, referrals.
Yeah, I'm sure you're getting some from referrals. Yeah. I mean, there's a statistic, and again, my statistics girl down there will correct me when I say this wrong, not even an if, but something like 90% of all agents after they've been in the business for 5 years get, what was it, Julie? 95% of all their business from referrals,
Yeah.
but
It's
only if
like,
the
like 80, I think it's like 83, 85% of their business after they've been in business for 5 years, and assuming that they actually service their database. As we said on the podcast last week, it's not enough to just have a database. You have to actually talk to them and, nurture them. But yes, after assuming that you have survived that long in business, most of your business will. And I think, Ziggy, you're probably starting to see some more of that activity because naturally
Absolutely.
you've had more sales, right? You've had more longevity in the business, more communication with them. And, interestingly too, agents don't realize as you're in business longer, your average sale price should grow along with you because your clients are moving up, more referrals, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, assuming that you're following a system as we teach to nurture that spoke, then yes, you should be getting plenty of business from that. But Ziggy's being smart because the thing with your center of influence, repeat and referral, is it's not entirely predictable. Like, I know you have a database, you talk to them all the time, but can you tell me who's next and what their price is going to be? Not so much. But when you call 10 for sale by owners, 10 people in probate, 10 expireds, 100% of those contacts, at least theoretically, have a need, a desire to sell. So you've got to learn to do both and balance the people who already know, love, and trust you with freshening that up with new people that you're taking care of. And you're a great example of somebody who's doing that.
It's what Brandon said about the spokes in the wheel. And listeners and viewers, if you're not putting the pieces together, what Julie just said. So if you have to, and all these guys are answering the questions, just think about what they're saying. So if I did this on this podcast yesterday. It's kind of an interesting experiment. I'm going to ask all these guys. I'm going to see if I even get it wrong, and then we'll make fun of them. It'll be a lot of fun. So let's go. All right. So here's the contest. We're going to play a game. Y'all ready? Ken's going to get it right because I know he listens to the show every day. All right. So here we go. You have to take 5 listings. Why did I say 10? You have to take 5 listings. And the next, Brandon's getting nervous. Look at that. Did you see that? He's getting nervous. If you have to take 5 listings in the next 30 days, and you get $1 million, taxes paid, here's $1 million to do with whatever you want to. 5 listings in the next 30 days, and you get $1 million in addition to all the money you get from the transactions and all the other business that comes from it. And dear listener, I want you to ask yourself this question as well. What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to stop doing that you know isn't going to lead? And maybe you want to push it out. You don't even have to have it 30 days. We can even make it 90 days. Five listings in the next 90 days. What are you going to stop doing? What are you doing right now that you know for damn sure is not going to result in you taking 5 listings in the next 90 days? You guys want to answer that question? You can answer that question on behalf of the coaching clients. How about that? What are the types of things that they're doing that we can confidently say won't generate any actual, with high probability of not generating actually closed transactions? What would you say are the biggest time wasters right now that agents are doing? Brandon, you start right now.
I mean, I would definitely not tell them to stop doing TikTok dances. That's number one. You have to keep that going. But as long as you do that, no, I would say anything that has to do with branding. No, I'm not saying don't brand, but that's not going to get you to 5 listings in under 90 days to win the contest.
That's right. Ziggy, what would you tell them to stop doing? Like what you would ask them, or like what would be like something you know that most agents are tempted to do that you would say would not get you to the goal of 5 listings in 90 days?
Yeah, social media advertising, or, you know, it's all of the getting ready to get started.
Go to motivation seminars and doing all these other things, working on your this and working on your that. Anything that starts with working on, right? Anything that starts
Yeah.
with tweaking. Rochelle, do you have an answer?
Well, it kind of goes with the answer I said earlier. Stop being afraid, stop wasting time, and stop not going and talking to your center of influence. I tell people that all the time. They're not talking to their center of influence. They're not doing anything with them. And that's one of the things I think a lot of agents are missing.
Ken, how about you? Thank you, Rochelle.
Kind of hit it, social media, marketing, all the passive stuff, you know, coming up with a new farming campaign, which is great long-term, but that's not going to get that goal of 5 listings in 90 days typically. And yeah, just kind of not coming up with, you know, not keep doing whatever you're doing, because if you were doing what you needed to be doing, your 5 listings would be an automatic.
That's right. And so the interesting thing from this is what you guys would suggest as professional coaches that they stop doing are the very things where they're spending most of their time and money now. Potentially hundreds of millions of dollars per year are spent on the activities that are least likely to get them a result in a, you know, period, let alone in a short period of time. And so one would ask, okay, so after I've taken my 5 listings in 90 days, I've won the contest, what should I do in the next 90 days? So I spend all that $1 million on a marketing and branding campaign? Nope. Nope. You take another 5 listings, another 5 listings after that. Because what we're going to teach you to do in Premier Coaching is build a very profitable, consistent, cash flowing business. And some of our most successful coaching clients are the ones making millions of dollars and selling sometimes, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of homes in a year, are the ones you've never heard of before. Because our top agents are focused on building businesses that provide, I'm going to say it, even though it's overused, superior levels of service to their clients, so that they get that consistent business, so they consistently over the weeks, months, and years earn the right to be that potential seller or buyer's, you know, agent. But also because they're just keeping their heads down, they're selling real estate and they're building very profitable real estate practices. Our average top producing client is maybe, I would say on the low end, probably keeping 85% of this is someone with a staff. They're keeping make $10,000, they're putting $8,500 in their pocket. Whereas the average agent or the average team or the average brokerage is now making, especially in this housing market, the average brokerage makes less than 2%. Did you know that? The average team, and when you actually calculate all their expenses in this market, is making less than 10% profit. So you can have a team that makes $1 million a year, and the person running the team, taking all the risk, you know, running the business, is making around 100 grand. That's called normal in this market. And they're still working, and they're making any profit they're making is off the listing side. Whereas an agent earning maybe $150,000 a year is making the same amount net that agent doing $1 million a year is. And yet our industry celebrates the one with the big team and the rest of it, right? What we're doing in our Premier Coaching program and our mission is to bring sanity to real estate. It's a movement we've been on for a long period of time. It's definitely picking up momentum because a lot of agents have experienced the throes of the branding and the marketing, and they're now at the point in their careers, they're saying, you know what, I am so tired of chasing these shiny objects, listening to all this stuff, marketing, branding, and all these other things sounds amazing, but here I've been doing it forever, spending all this money on it, and I've really virtually nothing to show for it. You know, we had a great coaching client. I'm going to use his name, and he's going to watch this and probably be mad at me for using his name. Lance Kenmore. He's been a coaching client for over 20 years. He started out by prospecting, being, you know, proactive lead generation. He sells 400 to 500 homes per year in Kennewick, Washington. A fantastic agent, as you can imagine. So I have him on the podcast recently, and his, you know, Julie's his coach, and so I know his numbers, and his listing count is way down. And he and I are talking about that. And I also knew that he had recently done a TikTok video. There you go, Brandon, that had a bunch of views, like 1,000 views. It went viral. He was like, this is the first one I've ever done that went viral. And so he's on the podcast, and I know his listing count was down. So I asked him about this video, and he's saying, yeah, we had like 50,000 views and the rest of it. And so I said, well, tell me about that. And remember, this is a podcast interview. And he said, well, you know, I had, you know, people watched it. I was getting feedback from folks. Well, who are you getting feedback from? Well, my centers of influence and past clients. And they were messaging me and saying they saw the, you know, whatever, they thought it was cute and all that. I said, well, how many transactions did you do from that? And you guys can watch the video. It's on YouTube. And he kind of paused, and I think he said like 3 or 4. And I said, so how many of those were centers of influence? He said, all of them. I said, so how many centers of influence and past, what are you doing for your centers of influence and past client marketing? Remember, he's way down on his listing inventory. He had like less than 10, and he needs 30 to 40 to hit his numbers, listings. And he said, well, we're mailing him things. And remember, this was a prospecting based guy, so he knows better. And he wanted to talk about his TikTok video. And so I said, so had you called those people, would you have gotten those leads anyway? And he said, yes. And then I said, so if you're down by listings by, you know, essentially 75%, and if you wanted to build your listing inventory up, are you going to do more TikTok videos and more branding? Or are you going to do what you know works, and you can pick up the phone and actually call those people and have all your staff do the same thing? And he laughed at himself, and he, you know, drank the medicine. And guess what happened? And how long after that, Julie, has he built his inventory back up?
He is probably I think he's gonna hit 40 this week. We actually raised the goal because his market also slowed down, and because it's the dead of winter, et cetera, and because of his goals. So now we need 50 active listings. I think he's at 38 or 39 as of our last call. And, you know, he hasn't stopped making the videos. He likes making the videos. He has fun with the videos. He likes being recognized in town. You know, he recently did one with even more views. It was a short video about a Costco door, which was like a door you install between your kitchen and your garage so that you don't have to actually walk out of your garage hauling your bags. That was the whole video. That was the whole premise. Okay. Great idea. It had a ton of views. And he still gets recognized and likes that, all of that. That's good. He works hard in his business, but he has a pretty big team. He personally now has to do at least 24 deals himself. And guess where they're coming from? Past clients, center of influence, because he's talking to them, because he's more involved. He's reinserted himself into the business. It's not that he's stopped doing the videos. It's that he now recognizes on a deeper level that those are in support of the real work of real estate, not instead of the real work of real estate. So the videos and the things, and they're fun. Most agents are doing stuff like that. The social media is fun. We do that. We report from the gym, our proof of life videos, right? But that is in support of, so that you can expand your center of influence, so that you can show that you're active in the market. That's all good. But to think of that as a spoke in and of itself, remember, Brandon explained the spokes in the wheel. It's not a spoke by itself. You're not going to get to use your contest. You're not going to get your 5 listings in 90 days or less if you're only dependent on that. It's not that we don't believe in it or don't support it or don't think it's fun. It is, but by itself, it's not really a lead generator. Yeah. I think that's what you were driving at with the Lance story, because he has been with us for a long while. And, you know, the nature of the coaching with the Kenmore team has changed over the years. In the beginning, it was, you know, learning where leads come from and learning how to convert leads and objection handling and win presentations. And now with a fully, realized team and different aspects, they do have a very robust wheel with multiple spokes, but the nature of what they're doing has changed. So when people ask, why do most people join coaching because they have some level of conscious incompetence. I need to learn this. I need to become more competitive. I need to not just live on only my past clients and sphere, because there's only so many of those, but it's to take it to the next level. And then why does somebody like the Kenmore team stay? because the nature of their business as they grow changes. Their goals change. You know, that's natural for somebody who's highly motivated, as they are. They're great goal setters. And that's why, you know, they're going after 50 listings now, which, by the way, is completely possible. And they're also really stable, great agents. You know, a lot of people are like, my gosh, how could you handle talking to 50 sellers? Who does that? Right? It's because they have systems in place.
Well, again, and they've built profitable business, but see, as an example, he started out doing, you know, the real work of real estate. He
Yep.
maybe chased some of the shiny objects. You know, he pulled himself out of the business when during the boom or during the COVID thing,
Sure.
when, you know, real estate
That's
cash
the time
flow.
he wasn't going on any personal listing appointments. That's true.
Exactly. Now he's put himself back in and he's building a really profitable business again. That's the nature of any business, guys.
Yep.
I mean, if
That's
you
right.
remember correctly, yes, Steve Jobs went back into Apple after, you know, he left Apple. He went back in to fix the company. A lot of agents and a lot of brokerages are doing the same thing. It's the cycle of things. So listen, listeners, I really appreciate your time today. Hopefully you've gotten a little bit to know our coaches. Would you guys like to take a moment to say anything, say adieu to anyone? And, you know, just anything, if you're feeling motivated, or if you're feeling like you have a bit of inspiration that's in the top of mind, you'd like to share with anyone, you don't have to if you don't want to. Ken, look at Ken. He's ready to go. Let's go.
Just being probably the newest blossoming person here, I would just say, look into Premier Coaching. You can't go wrong. It's only going to help you manage your business better, learn kind of where you can what's working well and really maximize that, and then learn new other areas where you can continue to grow your business.
Right. And we really, truly adore being with agents who want to climb those various levels of learning and get to the point where they're like you guys, where they're like all of our other top agents that we've had in our lives forever. That is our life's mission. And all of you guys are sharing that with us. So Ken, I certainly appreciate that. Rochelle, do you have anything you'd like to, you know, pass along, any little pearls of wisdom? Imagine you're talking to the version of yourself from 20 years ago, or maybe you just had a great coaching call and you know, anything you can say to inspire these guys?
I was just going to say, don't be afraid to take a chance on yourself. I've been a single mom since my daughter was 4. She's going on 20 and she's in college, and I've raised her myself. So any single moms, single parents out there, if you're afraid to jump into real estate, afraid of coaching, take a chance on yourself, because it does work.
Gianna's almost 20.
Yeah.
Oh, how'd
And
that happen?
I do.
Ziggy, anything come to mind?
Just that, you know, investing in yourself. So coaching is an investment in yourself as opposed to investing in branding or marketing. So I definitely think, you know, if you can shift some of your funds from your branding, marketing budget over to coaching, it's an investment in yourself that you won't regret.
Well, and 2, you can't, like, the branding and the marketing stops working as soon as you stop spending money on it. But once you have the skills to pick up the phone and make the call, you know, pre-qualify the lead, send the pre-listing pack, go on the listing appointment, negotiate the contract, and the rest of it. Once you have that skill set, you don't lose that skill set. As soon as you stop, marketing and branding goes into the same bucket as advertising. As soon as you stop spending money on ads, guess what happens? You stop getting leads. With knowing how to proactively lead generate, you get leads forever because you are the one that's generating the work. It's very, very good point. I sincerely appreciate that. And Ziggy, we love you. And I certainly appreciate your longtime loyalty and inspiring so many people. That means the world to me. Brandon, I'm leaving it up to you, brother. It's home run time. Let's go. No, grand slam.
Man, home run. Geez.
Let's go. Let's walk on some coals,
that's
baby.
it. That's all they have to walk away with. I think one of the greatest things about this is that there's you two, you know, I mean, like you, Tim, and you, Julie, are such a great team that you get so much experience and you get kind of the information from 2 different viewpoints that make it such a winning opportunity to be a part of this coaching. Obviously, Ziggy, Ken, and Rochelle and I, we both love, you know, being here to help, but it's all because of like what we've learned through being a part of what you guys do. And so I'm thankful for you guys, but thankful for what my relationship and the information you've provided has done to change my life. So guys, the opportunity in coaching with Premier is an opportunity where you can really go and grow and become who you were intended to be to reach your full potential. So I encourage you to take the investment. Is it free now?
They can
Since
join.
I-
Yeah, that's right. They can join for
Including
free.
Free.
Free. Yeah,
I
free.
mean,
Yeah.
gosh,
No,
that sounds horrible.
yeah, but
What
Brandon,
an
listen,
opportunity.
right. I know. They can join for free. They can cancel at any time. They have immediate access to all of the first level. Depending on how they join, they can have immediate access to everything, including ethical real estate professional. And they do have immediate access to your daily coaching sessions that each of you guys run during every workday. That's what they get for free. That's how confident we are that you guys are going to love your experience in Premier Coaching. We have had literally thousands and thousands and thousands of coaching clients. I mean, probably over 100,000 coaching clients at this point. And Premier Coaching is by far our biggest, most popular, most in-demand coaching program. And you, to Brandon's point, and thank you very much for mentioning that, you can join for free. So there's literally zero risk to you. So for everyone listening, everyone watching, thank you for continued support over the decades that we've been doing this. And we look forward to continuing on this path. It is truly our pleasure and truly our honor that you've chosen us to be your real estate coaches. And so whatever obstacles, whatever challenges lay ahead in the housing market and the economy, know that you are in the right place at the right time. Now it's time for you to take the right action. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.